Semifinal week is here for Classic Candlepins, Season 2.0 from downtown Amesbury, Massachusetts, along with the legendary Frank Face, of course, who, the voice of Alley Chat, the voice of
Yes.
Candlepin Bowling, I guess.
Maybe.
All right, well, just relax. I'm Kyle Bruce, and we're here to present our semifinal matchup between Nick Norcross, who defeated Nick Zuffalato last week in the second round matchup. This week he'll be facing Brian Fuller Jr., who again is on the show so much that, I don't know, maybe he should be employed by the town of Amesbury. I don't know.
Perhaps. I think he's part of the Bowlers Union.
Yes.
He's a union employee.
That he is, absolutely. And he needs all the help he can get because Nick Norcross, coming off that victory, two of the great young bowlers in the sport. And the winner of this particular matchup, of course, will face the top seed, Jason Simoneau. So, semifinal week is here. Brian Fuller Jr., Nick Norcross. We'll see you in the post-match show, and we hope you enjoy it because I know that we will.
It's going to be very tough. There's a great field of competition, but I'm going to try and do what I did last time, just go out and bowl. That's all it comes down to. If I do that, then hopefully the result will show.
I feel like I have a little bit of an advantage. I mean, I've been bowling here before I could even walk, so.
I love bowling under the lights. I mean, a lot of guys get a little bit of pressure going in under the lights. I feel the opposite. I feel at home there. That's my kind of thing. So I love bowling on TV, no matter what the situation might be, no matter who I'm bowling against.
You could have been in fifth, or you could have been in dead last. You finally finished like near the top, but you're in the top five. It's just such an amazing feeling to know that you're in it and you're going to be on the show.
Lately, I've actually been starting to improve my game. Been trying to ask a lot of questions, getting a lot of advice, and I've noticed my average increasing. So while I might not be at the highest level with all those great bowlers out there, I definitely feel like I am improving, so I can be competitive against them.
Welcome to downtown Amesbury, everyone. My name is Frank DeLuca, a.k.a. Frank Face. I'm here with Mark Ricci for another matchup in Classic Candlepins. Mark, this is week 3 of our first ladder series of season 2.0, and we have a great match today. We have Nick Norcross against Brian Fuller Jr., both veterans of the game.
Very much so. Nick Norcross, a young guy, but he's coming up, making a lot of noise, doing a lot of good things, and he's bowling against a guy who is very familiar with this bowling alley. Virtually grew up here throwing balls when he was a little baby, Brian Fuller Jr. It's going to be one heck of a match, and there's no way to call it, so let's just watch it.
We'll be back with our beginning roll-off after this timeout. Welcome back, everyone, to downtown Amesbury. We are here for our third matchup of the first ladder of Season 2.0 of Classic Candlepins. I'm Frank Face, and I am with Mark Ricci.
Yes, sir.
Mark, we have a great matchup here. Nick Norcross defeated Nick Zuffalato last week, 369 to 359.
What a match it was.
Oh,
it was
yes.
an incredible match.
And he is taking on Brian Fuller Jr. You can see them both pictured here, and Nick will get us started off. And he's right through the middle.
On the head pin, though. That's a tough ball to throw. The first ball of the match, getting it out there, getting it down the middle. You know, he hit the object. What do? He gave it a heck of a run right there. Leaves a 3 and the 6 for $10. And he throws, tries, and does pick up the 10. Good start for Nick. We're underway here. Nick staring down the barrel of lane 6. Trying to get that first smudge on the board.
We like to see that.
Yes, we do.
We like to see marks. And there you go.
There's a double smudger. Big strike in the second frame to get him going, and now the man, the myth, and the legend himself, Brian Fuller Jr. Very, very familiar with these surroundings.
You know, that ball looked a lot better to me than that.
It really was. Very contrast of styles here, too. I understand, you know, the right-handed, left-handed thing, but Nick throws more of a sweeping curve, like he'll throw it out and it tends to break back into the pins, to curve back. Brian has more of a straight approach. He does put a little backspin. There's a nice 10 box to get himself going.
I think I would describe Brian's approach the ball kind of doesn't curve, but it cuts a little bit.
It does.
It cuts.
Yes.
It slices, and perhaps that's why he made that 10 box.
You know, we've spoken about it before, not exactly here today, but the backup ball for the right-hander.
Yes.
That spins from left to right has a way of being one of the more explosive balls, as Fuller just slides by the 10 pin on the right side. And plucks it for the 10.
And Mark, you yourself have a backup ball approach.
Brian and I throw the ball very similarly. When it comes off of our hands, I do throw it a little harder, maybe with a little more spin, but it's
Sure.
the same basic idea of try to get that backspin and get the pins moving. You know, sometimes crunching them and getting them all to fall down is great, but sometimes you hit them a little thin, and putting a little spin on the ball helps the pin to slide around a little
Sure.
extra sometimes. Doesn't always just go straight back.
So again, Nick Norcross filling a strike here. Favorable wood.
Knocks it straight back. Nice spare. He's off and running. Early 10-pin lead, but it's ridiculously early. Nick
Both bowlers are perfect so far.
Yes.
No pins left standing through 5 boxes.
We like that. Nick right through the guts again. Broke up the left side a little bit. Still has a 7-pin over there, and then the run of the 3-6-10 on the right. Kind of a favorable piece of wood in the front if you can catch a piece of it on the way by.
I like it, especially with the curvature of his ball.
Oh, he got by it. Actually cut the 6 all the way over into the 7. Just slid by the 3-pin, though. He'll pick this up for a 10. He did not make me a liar.
That's a good thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's nice when the bowlers help out the announcers.
And here again we see Brian Fuller Jr., Newburyport, Massachusetts.
Brian is 32 years old, from Newburyport. Just slides by the head pin. Has a league average of 125. And the house record here, we've heard a lot about Jonathan Boudreau and his house record here at 1399. Mr. Fuller has the single string house record here at 224. Think about that.
That is something. I mean, and he was pretty young when he did that, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. I believe it was back in 2006 that he did it. So we're almost talking 10 years now. So you think of it now, if he's 32 now, he was barely 22. He was Nick Norcross's age when he did that. He also has a high series of 474, which I've been told is not the same night that he threw the 224. So that just goes to show you that the man can put the numbers up.
Right.
The man can definitely put the numbers up. There's a 9, 39 after 4. Nick has an early 17-pin lead. Brian has several accomplishments listed here. Not going to go through all of them, but he's decorated.
Nick's looking at the 3-9-10. He's got a diagonal piece of wood out front, but I don't think that'll be much of a factor, Mark.
No, I think that's too far over there. I just slid by, took out the 10. Nick Norcross also has a long list of accomplishments here. He too has a house record. As we watch Nick slide by for an 8. His high single is also an impressive 210, which is a house record down at the lanes in Woburn. Anytime you throw 200, I don't care if it's a house record or not, that's an amazing, amazing number. Nick crashes 9 and shows you why he does have that big number.
If I'm not mistaken, he achieved that by throwing 5 strikes in a row.
I think it was a 5-bagger that he had in that string. It's one of the rarest things in all of Candlepin. Nick takes the spare out. 74 and a ball for 6. He's having himself a great game.
And we'll get a better look at Brian Fuller Jr. there as he delivers.
Brian's very deliberate. Every ball has intent, as we all do. Some men are more focused than others. Brian, I've had the pleasure to bowl with multiple times, and he's just one of the most focused guys I've ever been with. It's so hard to rattle him at any time. But that's what it takes to bowl up in the big stuff like this.
Of course, yeah.
It really does.
In fact, I believe you two have won a Pro Series event together.
Yes, we did. We won a doubles event in Nashua together on the Pro Series. It was actually, I had been a member of the Pro Series for several years, but it was actually Brian's very first ever Pro Series event that he went into. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have won because he was just unconscious that day. He was bowling so well.
I remember the following month, there was a 10-stringer in Manchester, and that day he threw two 180-plus games.
Yes, he did.
So
yes, he did.
Again, goes to show that he's capable of big numbers on multiple occasions.
Very much so. I think he came in third that day. Yes, it was. He came in third up at that 10-stringer, which is absolutely no joke with the quality of bowlers that's in the room in any of these major pro tournaments. To come anywhere, even in the top 10, is a real feather in somebody's cap. And then to come in like, a medal position, should I compare something to the Olympics, is
right. Norcross is filling a spare.
Nick's all over the head pin this string. Coming out of the gate, he must have made a couple of adjustments from last week. He is all over the head pin.
3-4, 6-10.
And just slides by the 3. That's twice today he's had that shot and missed it by less than a piece of paper. You get a wide shot view of the lanes, and Nick with a gorgeous ball, but no justice. 7-10.
Interesting piece of wood up there, Mark.
That really is. Whenever that pokes up and stays up like that.
It's a legal shot, and you know what? I think I'd probably give it an attempt.
At this point, yes.
Why not? He goes for it.
And he plunked it, and it danced around a whole lot, but didn't do any damage. He does have a favorable leave here for the 10, though, as the wood shimmied around. Ooh. And bouncy city, but the 7 remains.
So he's at 98 through 8. Brian Fuller is still looking for his first mark.
There's a good shot of Brian. Right through the middle. Just the 1-5.
No love there.
None. Gives it a run. Gets him to dance around a little bit, but still staring at 3 pins on the left. And checks it for a 9 here. 67. He's down 22 pins through 7 boxes completed. Brian has a very famous family lineage in the game of candlepins.
Jeez.
Right through the middle again, unfortunately.
2 times in a row, he's punched the 1-5, this time plus the 8.
Yep, it's the difference with that quarter inch.
Sure.
Quarter inch to that left side, and could be staring at an 8 or a 9 drop. Right through the heart of it, and he's still staring at 4 pins. 2, 4, 7 on the left, and the 10 over in the corner.
Continues his streak of pinning, though.
He's making great 9s and 10s out of these things, and this could be a lot worse. But 76 through 8, still within striking distance with a mark or 2 on the bottom. Just got to get that 1 to get him going. Nick off just a little bit. Got some pins to move around. He's staring at a 4-pin spare leave. 1, 3, 8, and 9. Pieces of wood over on the 3-pin. Gets him to move. Carries it beautifully. There in the 9th.
Bonus. Fill of 5. He's just off the head pin. 1, 6, 7, 8, 10.
Nick was the first ever scratch champion of one of the other shows that's on the air on YouTube, King of the Palace.
Yes.
In Fitchburg. Dave Madela and the boys down there doing a great job. They ran a scratch tournament and Nick won. The man can bowl.
There's no doubt about that.
No.
For sure, Mark.
This man can bowl too.
Indeed he can, and he's still looking for his first mark. And
Oh, that wood took a nice bounce out for him.
5, 6, 10 with wood.
Oh, and he just slid by the 5 pin. It's one of those shots you almost have to take the wood and the pin at the exact same time.
Right.
He takes the 10 box, 86. It's tough because he's bowled a great game. He's been on his objects more often than not, but
He has. And,
and
again, he's
right
throwing a
through
great
the
ball,
middle.
but it results in a split. And this happened to him in previous appearances on our show.
yes. I remember the match with him and Brian Fournier in the ladder championship of the 4th ladder, I believe. And he and Brian were both having the same day. They were both hitting everything and just leaving a lot of splits. It's that 1/4 inch difference.
So a no mark 95 for Brian Fuller Jr., difference of 27 pins between our two bowlers. We will be back with second round action of our semifinal matchup of the Classic Candlepins Season 2.0 First Ladder Series. And we'll be back after this timeout.
I'm Nick Norcross, and you're watching Classic Candlepins.
Welcome back to our semifinal matchup of the Classic Candlepins Season 2.0 initial ladder of the 2015-16 bowling season. I'm here with Mark Ricci, our recent Tournament of Champions victor.
Ah, yes.
And this is a matchup between Brian Fuller Jr. and Nick Norcross. Brian gets us started. Mark, Brian hasn't thrown a mark yet he's only left 5 pins standing for a 95 string.
And I think he was on the head pin 8 out of 10 boxes last
It's
string.
really unbelievable.
He's been all over his shots. They just don't break up sometimes. Hit that shot well, too. And staring at the 4 pin for a 10. Funky piece of wood in front, but, yep, carries it. Brian is a shoe salesman in Newburyport, where he lives. He's single, but he's been with his girlfriend Kate for a few years now, and I know Kate personally. She's a great kid. There's Brian getting on the board. And the crowd gives him a little bit for it. I didn't know anybody here knew him.
Yeah, I thought he was a stranger here. He's and here is Nick Norcross, our number 3 seed rather.
Oh!
Starting off with a strike.
Booyah. And that was a hammer.
Four horseman right plus the 8 pin.
Nick is employed by the bowling alley down in Woburn. He's worked there for as long as I can remember anyway.
As long as I've known him, yeah.
Yes. There's a 6 fill on the strike. He is single, but he has a girlfriend named Kelsey that has been with him for a while now, and I don't think I've ever known Nick to be happier, to be honest with you. She's a great kid. So there's an 8 for 24 for Nick after 2. But here comes Fuller. Actually missed the head pin that time. First time in a while.
Still gets a fill of 6. 1, 2, 7, 10. Takes out the 1, 2, 7. Tough shot.
A very tough shot, yeah. Very tough shot. I mean, when it goes, it's gorgeous, but
Oh, sure.
the tiniest bit full on the head pin. And you just kind of blow it back, but he got the stick. It's not leaving a lot of pins standing. That's so important. Back on the head pin again. And our third check mark of the day. 2, 4, 5, 7. I personally like to try to play the away from the center, opposite of that way. Oh, and he carried it.
Is that how you were referring to it?
No.
I prefer the your way as well.
Yeah, I try to play whatever the wall side is, whatever wall side the
Yes.
pins are closest to. But logic defied. All that matters is that you knock down 10 pins. And here comes Nick Norcross, getting a little break of his own.
1, 7, 8.
Yes. There is that piece of wood that's out front, but I don't think it'll factor much. He actually shot it.
Yeah.
He actually carried the 7-8. And there's the head pin for a great 10. Sometimes you get the break and you can't make the spare. All those loose pins that you leave standing, you know, you might leave an 8 box or a 9 here and there. You look back and there's 10 or 15 pins somewhere, and we've already seen a match be 10 pins today.
And you know, I've said it a million times. I know I sound like a broken record, but pinning is key.
It's so key. You could say it until you're blue in the face, and it'll still be the truest thing in all of Candlepin. With our game being very different than Nick just sliding by the head pin. With our game being very different than 10 pin, the emphasis is on strikes over there, but here it's spares and 10 boxes. And you know, the more loose pins kind of like that you leave, you look back later and you know, you start asking yourself questions. But
So Nick leaves the door cracked open for Fuller, who's filling a mark here, a spare.
great ball right on the head pin.
Fills it with 7.
Hey, he had the 7 pin there with the triangle for a second, but luckily that carried. Triangle on the right, 3, 5, and 6. And he appears to be right on it. Got it to break up nicely. And now he's off and running.
Perhaps Fuller has found his groove.
Great ball. All over the head pin. Both of our bowlers have been on it much, much more than they've missed it. And that's why they're here. That's why they're bowling under the lights. In the roll-off, Brian Fuller Jr. threw 658. And was only the 2 seed.
Right, and both of our bowlers are campaigning to challenge the number 1 seed, Jason Simoneau.
Yes. Who honestly, it was great to see him come out and roll and do as well as he did. He's been a guy who said that, you know, he has tough times here sometimes, but I was here the night that he was rolling off, and he was not missing anything. Not a single pin.
I think he was in the 660s, if I'm not mistaken.
668. He beat Fuller by 10.
Impressive.
Yes, very much so. I was very impressed with how Jason bowled that night. He was just on it, and he couldn't miss it. And then if he did miss it, he got the break. It was just that night where he was in that little zone. Here's Nick giving the 3 and 1 a run. Left the 9 pin standing. Great 10 box.
53 at the half.
Fuller's gotten back 18 pins. Our match right now is less than 10 pins, folks. That's how quick this game can swing. Nick's been off for the last few boxes.
but getting a few breaks to keep himself involved here. This is always a tough shot. But
Oh, yeah, the 1-8.
yes. It was a piece of wood that was up, but it rolled off. You just try to hit the head pin as full as you can. Oh!
Pin jumped right over the 8 pin.
It did. And he leaves it there for a 9.62. Fuller gains another in count.
Difference of 8 between the two bowlers in total. 184 to 176.
And there's the look of intensity. Brian Fuller throws an awesome ball. But look at this.
With a not awesome piece of wood in front of his 7 pin.
He dropped 9 quickly. Then a piece of wood came way up in an inconvenient spot, but he says, I don't care.
Can't play it any better than that,
Nope.
Mark.
Sometimes you get those weird woods, and the best thing to do is to hit it on one of the caps and just try to send it straight back, which is what he did, and then he came back with a 2-fill, that dreaded half Worcester. We all know it. We all hate it. And then he makes
With
it.
a conversion.
And then he made it. Ladies and gentlemen, you look up 2 and another in the dictionary. And there it is. Nick Norcross looking to answer.
Through the middle.
Spread eagle. Oh. Sent the 3-pin over and took out the 7. So he's still staring at 2 pins here. And now he's staring at 1. Unfortunately, though, you have to push the button. That was 3 balls.
It's the way the game is played.
Yes, it is. So Brian now has a 22-pin lead, box to box, but Nick is opposite and big spare. Oh, wow, that's how you answer a man's spare. So here we go, people. We've had 2 good matches so far, and this one is not disappointing in the least bit.
Very tight.
This is everything you could ask for.
Fuller, bonus ball.
Off the head stick to the left. Chunked out a few extras. It'll be a 6-fill. 109 after 8.
Looks good.
And he takes a
Yes!
shot on the outside.
So Fuller has marked for 3 consecutive boxes.
He's looking to improve his fills, though. And that is a good way to do it. He went
And
2-fill, 6-fill, and then a 9-fill. So that's 17 extra pins. Just in the last couple frames.
yeah, makes the difference.
It always does.
Single pin spare.
4-pin.
Yes.
Right in the cheek. This is how we finish a game here, folks. This is the important way to do it. 138 plus a ball.
And Brian forgot that he had to go 11.
He's in his zone. He's not paying attention. This is the definition of go 11, folks. When you get a spare in the 10th, you get that bonus. And it's important to take advantage of it just like that. And a 9-fill for a 147.
So a huge finish for Brian Fuller Jr. Now, Mark, Nick certainly has some pressure on him.
Very much so. Very much so. Fuller with the professional finish, but Nick has the strike up, and I've seen Nicky finish just like Brian did many, many times before. These are both championship level bowlers. That's why all these guys that come in the ladders here are all championship level, and you just don't know. It's so hard to pick.
Sure. So an 8-fill in the spare, tough split.
Nick gets 9. 98 after 9. Box to box, Fuller's up by 30 in this string. But he's opposite a spare 9 right now. Missed a head pin. He got a little bit of late action, though.
Leaves the 110.
There's that piece of wood creeping over at the 10 pin. Oh, and it hung on it, too.
That's help.
That's a massive break. If he can hit the head pin here,
Just missed it.
just slid by.
So he'll be open.
And Brian's going to take the lead in this match by some 15, 20 pins anyway.
And that's what he wanted to do. So a 10 box brings him to 108 after 2. 12 pins the difference, 242 to 230 after string number 2 of our semifinal matchup in our number 1 ladder series of Classic Candlepins Season 2.0. Mark Ricci and I will be back with more in the third string after this timeout.
I'm Brian Fuller, and you're watching Classic Candlepins.
And we're back with our third string action of the Classic Candlepins semifinal matchup between Nick Norcross and Brian Fuller Jr.
What a match it's been.
What a match it's
Another
been.
great
Difference
match.
of 12 pins, Mark.
Fantastic
242
match
to
so far.
230. Brian Fuller leads, and Nick Norcross will get us started.
I was talking to Nick during the break, and he was saying that his ball seems to be curving a lot more than he would like. So he's trying to fight that a little bit, but there you go.
And
There's a good spare to start.
I think he has fought that a little bit.
That's another aspect of the game that you really, it's tough to be taught, is kind of how to adjust to the different conditions, how your ball might work one way in one place and then it spins like crazy in another one.
Of course.
It's just all about finding that happy median because of the amount of places that we go to and bowl. Nick on the head pin, you might have figured it out. With the amount of places that we go to and the amount of tournaments that we bowl, it's very important to be able to adjust to any surroundings, any lane condition, any of that such.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Nick just slid by that 3-pin there.
Score that a 9. Puts him at 26 through 2. And fresh off a 147 string, we see Brian Fuller Jr.
It looked very much like the first string, too. The ball, the way things went, but that's the difference of the breaks.
And what a ball that was.
Yes, it was.
Left with the triangle, 5, 8, 9. Looked better than that to me, Mark.
It did. And he just a little too full in the center. Last time he hit it like that, it broke up. But this time a little bit too full. And he gets his 10 box. Starts out. Gets a 10, but Nick gets 7 back in count, so the lead is 5. With 9 boxes to go. Kind of lost that one out to the side. I saw his arm move.
4 horsemen left, plus the 5-pin. Tough shot, Mark.
It's the 5-pin in the back. That's
Yeah.
always getting you. If you hit it on the right place, like, try to split the 1 and the 2 there. It's usually that 5-pin that hangs around and tells you, nope, I'm not going. Gets
And
the
a 10
10,
box.
though. Dramatic fashion. And here's young Nick Norcross.
Gained 6 pins in count during those 2 boxes, so lead is cut down to 6 for Fuller. And that's not the first ball that Nick wanted to throw.
Nick is a veteran of the TV lights as well. He's been in these spots before. He knows the pressure atmosphere of things. And, all those things can help you as you go, but each experience is unique, no matter where you go, what you do.
Of course.
And
that's a tough 4
that's
box.
not what he was looking for at all. 30 for 3.
I think he was hoping his ball would curve just a little bit more, kind of sweep and out of that.
Well, let's see. What do we got here? We got a bunch of weebles. The 1, the 2, and the 9. Interesting piece of wood behind the 2 there. Things can happen with wood there. And
I think the wood cost him on that shot.
I think so. The ball came screaming back, but I think it just ran out of real estate back there. He leaves it there for the 9. Brian steps to the line now. His mom and dad are here in the crowd. His dad, Brian Sr., really needs no introduction.
None whatsoever.
No.
Channel 5 legend.
And neither does his mom either. Kathy,
That's true.
Fuller now, but years ago, Kathy Quinn. Very famous bowler in her own right. Very good bowler in her own right. Hence the lineage.
Yes.
Coming down the line of the next generation. There's another 10 box.
Puts his lead through boxes completed back up to 12 in total. And he's through the middle for a spread eagle.
Yeah, we had a pin fall on lane 7 over there. Hence the dirty laundry. We'll have Nick re-rack that when it's his turn. Brian tries the right side. A little too full. Goes to the left side and even fuller. For Brian Fuller.
Imagine that.
I know, it's weird, right? No pin intended, of course.
Right, of course.
No pin intended.
Why would you? There's
37.
Look at our scoreboard there. 10 pins the difference between the two bowlers.
Nick got a couple back. And Nick's kind of struggling to find the head pin, but they're
well, that's a break.
They're not exactly being mean to him at the moment.
What do you do, Mark? Play high on that cap?
I would absolutely,
Sure.
yes. Something like this, you can't be sure that wood's going to sweep and take both pins. I would try to spin it just like that. That was a gorgeous shot. That's what Nick needs to do now. He needs to mark. Cleaning up his own dirty laundry over there. Ball came screaming out. Nick's a very even-keeled bowler when he bowls. He's very methodical, but at the same time, he doesn't really show a lot of emotion. Some frustration maybe sometimes, but.
So four-fill puts him at 53 through the half, and he's through the hole again.
Just scooted through the hole.
Looking to find an out here.
And
no.
Does not find it.
Got away from him.
So this really puts Fuller in the driver's seat here. Even though he's down a couple pins in the string, he has a chance to really open things up. And this will help. 7-pin by itself, maybe, unless it gets taken. Nope.
Double wood, but it's not a concern because it's frozen. So
at this point, hit it hard.
There you go.
Just like that. That's all you got to do. That's how we all wish every one of our 9 drops could be.
Every single time.
Single pin and Home Depot in front of it.
Ugly 2-fill for a half Worcester.
Yes. So Nick actually gained 2 pins with that 4, but it's opposite the 4 box. Fuller just got those pins back. And let's see. There's 2 for the 9. 58. Looking at Brian Fuller being up 13 pins right now. With 4 boxes left to go.
Still anyone's match,
it's
Mark.
still marginal. That is a marginal lead.
Nick seems to be just left of that head pin.
Consistently, too.
Right.
You know, there's something to be said about starting in the same place and throwing the same ball. But there are times that you should move a little bit. And he did, and that pesky 10-pin finally it proved us right.
Yeah,
earlier.
our theory
I didn't want it to.
Has some validity to it.
Yes, yes. We weren't lying, folks. It's usually that corner pin that usually messes you up. And unfortunately, at the wrong time, it reared its face. But Nick comes back with an awesome ball.
He's broken up the split. He's looking at the 3-6 for a spare.
This is almost a must. No.
Just gets by the 3-pin.
I think he's having problems locating. It's like that pitcher that, you know, he's an outstanding pitcher, but he just has that one day where he just can't locate.
Sure.
And kind of gives it up there for the 9.
76 through 8. And Brian Fuller Jr.
You can almost put this match out of reach with 2 good marks.
More or less, yes. Another split. 3-6, 7-10. Can he send it over?
Outside, no.
A little too heavy.
Both of these guys struggling to put marks up on the board here, but games like this can illustrate how strings can be won by just pinning. Fuller misses left. Leaves a 1-3 in the front, and then 7 and the 9 in the back. Never a tasty shot.
Takes out everything but the 7.
Yes.
So both bowlers will be open for the last 3 boxes. And Mark, this is a very important finish for both bowlers.
This is
the last 2 boxes, really.
I mean, we're talking about 12 pins here in 2 boxes. It's really not a lot. The pressure may feel like it is, but all things considered, it's not. And Nick has a hard time. He misses left again and stuck with that same 1-7-8. There was some wood in the front, but it's taking a walk. And it's gone now. And Nick just slides by. He's not happy with himself. He's kind of frustrated. Rips out 2, and 9, and 85 through 9. On the head pin here.
Some late action. No. Sliding pins.
It almost might help him. Oh, but he missed the object.
So a 95 string for Nick Norcross brings him to a total of 325.
Brian needs 7 pins to tie? Yes.
Yes.
7 to tie, 8 to win.
And that'll do it,
folks.
I think he just wanted to make sure of it, Mark.
I think so. That's a good way to do it, too. Put the hammer down and throw the victory box. Gets a break. Missed the head pin, leaves the 1-7. No wood to speak of. And tries to play it outside. Just miss. Takes a 9 fill. So he will be over 100. He gets the 10 for 105 and a 10-pin victory in the string. And 22 pins overall.
347 to 325. Brian Fuller will move on to bowl our number 1 seed, Jason Simoneau of Hudson, New Hampshire. And we'll be back to talk with Nick Norcross after this timeout.
We're back, everyone, with Classic Candlepins. We are standing here with Nick Norcross, who fell just a tad short to Brian Fuller Jr. today. The score of 347 to 325. Nick, seems as though you were throwing a good ball, but you were just missing the head pin very slightly. Were you making any kind of adjustments or anything? Or
No, I was just trying to throw the same ball on both lanes, but one lane liked me and the other one didn't.
Sometimes that's the nature of this beast we call the game.
Absolutely. But I didn't bowl well. Brian bowled better than me, so he deserves to win.
Well, and he'll move on. Mark?
Yeah, I think you guys were just both on the splits train there for a while. You guys both bowled well, and then the splits just crept up for both, and I think just he carried a couple breaks. But it's always a pleasure when you're here.
Thank you.
I'll see you beforehand, but I'll see you in November when we go, and I'm happy to be bowling with you this year. But we move on to next week here on Classic Candlepins, where the 2 seed, Brian Fuller Jr., faces a new face to Classic Candlepins in Jason Simoneau, who had the top score in the roll-off at 668. This was the guy that Fuller Jr. re-entered to try to beat, so there could be a little bit of, maybe a lot of bit of high scoring in this next match, I got a funny feeling of. So for Frank and everybody else here on the crew, I'm Mark Ritchie. We'll see you next week on Classic Candlepins.
3 down, 1 to go. Semifinal week is completed, and Brian Fuller Jr. comes from behind to knock out Nick Norcross 347 to 325, and he advances to ladder championship Saturday. Frank, this was a matchup where Brian was in a hole early with a 95 string, pinned very well.
A no-mark 95. That's quite impressive in its own right.
Sure, absolutely. So we see Norcross comes out to the big lead, and then Brian has a big middle string of 147, 7 marks.
Right, goes back. Imagine coming back with no marks the string previous, and then
right.
You know, that's the way you step it up.
Right, and
stuck with it mentally.
And then we see, you know, like we saw Brian throw a 95 in the first string, and the third string, unfortunately for Nick Norcross, he's the one that has the 95.
Couple tough 4 boxes. You got to wonder if that's kind of getting his head a little bit and taking things down for him.
Right, absolutely. So, in any event, ladder champ take on Brian Fuller Jr. For our entire crew and the legendary Frank Face, I'm Kyle Bruce, and we'll see you next week on Classic Candlepins.